Dāgē jīnsu jebē sōnām jē, dōlā bēnjē sāngjē dōparāishū. Jodān zō jē zōnām lō, chāngchū pārtō dāne gyab sōngjē. Dāgē jīnsu jebē sōnām jē, dōlā bēnjē sāngjē dōparāishū. Sāngjē jodān zō jē zōnām lō, chāngchū pārtō dāne gyab sōngjē. From now on till enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and by the merit created in this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. From now on till enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and by the merit created in this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. From now until enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and by the merit created in this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings.
야, 다 좀 된다 랑긴 되나라. semkipane 대화를 semkipane 대화는 세수고 왔다. 즉 뭐니 말아주 다 그러나라. 즉 대화라체 림바망베 예베나네 sem기시대 생데 sem기 대화 생디 대화 타도 되래 세수고 왔다. 간지 다 된다에 sem 기지대 생데 간데스도 거래. 디 다 묘안이요 말이 이 쟁게네 배 점된데랑 게 찡길람네. 아니 지안이요 말데 점된랑 게다 줘버려. 아니 디 두야 답람라 점된데기 아니 간데스 집하게 아 뇌동을 차게 미설 니기도 봐잖아. 중이 된바든 배 도와 그러서 송다네. 점된데랑 즉 뭐니 이시기 찡기 지네 람르베 림바시 소네 오늘 숭기디 루시토네 다 뚝스치네 셈기디 투비아지 송노아레 다티 랑기 셰바치 아니 셰네 제팽교 말이 냠nen지 유도도 개와 셈라 아니베 강 셈라 동안 징겐데 모다지체 디 모다체베고네 디바 타생야게 메시지 갈텐데 튠긴 강섬내디기 용아의 용인기 셈기 연된데기 무엔진 기 랑게스 이글라 렘버제야 튠긴 두바지 제야지 오다 도스치니 점는 순구하래 오다 디인지 제바이나 땅오니 셈기 디기디 디톤이 온 거래 디기디 대완든 거래 오다 디 인두갈라 점된데 랑게 제 다들 오늘 순샤게 나진지 냠는 제게도 개체쇼 차거리스.
In the Buddha's own teachings called Sutra, he mentioned that generating an awakening mind is the happiness, and generating the awakening mind generates, happiness. So, being in the cyclic existence, as you know, there are many different types of happiness, and but the ultimate or the highest form of happiness is the happiness of the mind, the inner happiness, and we find many different ways, a method, technique to attain the inner happiness, and but unfortunately, inner happiness or peace of the mind is something that we couldn't find in the market. We couldn't buy it. And Buddha himself has decisively mentioned that, sort of announced that, we cannot be blessed by his, or he can give us, that kind of inner peace. So, as you know, Buddha mentioned in his own teaching, in the verse in which he talks about. He can't, pick up the suffering of sentient beings as if, he can pick up something some small object from among many, nor can he kind of transfer his realizations to other sentient beings. And so the only way that he can help us to free us from our own suffering is by showing us the reality, by showing us the path. So it's really his teaching that is the one that can help us to free ourselves from our own suffering, or you can say a true path. And what is important here is first understand what is his teaching, his path, and simply intellectual knowledge is not enough in order to attain or experience the peace of mind. So what is needed is, after intellectual understanding, then actual kind of implementation of what you have learned and studied. And so here, in the practice, we talk about understanding the two aspects. The one is all the obstacles, the negative aspects of the mind, and realizing those are the hindrances, something that are causing us a problem and suffering and difficulties. Then how can we separate ourselves from those suffering and the cause of the suffering and problems? And on the other hand, the other aspect is what are the positive factors that make our mind happy, peacefulness, and then kind of adopting and a path or ways so that we can attain the positive qualities of the mind.
What that the Nigala, Mazota, Jun Chengin Jedi, Tabachim Jun Chali. Money, Tabachimbo Sidigala, Jik Karsore, Pagi, Yang Divu Yachawa, Samba Yachawa, Tindigi Chani, Tabachimbo Labor Mado, Yambe, Tiba members of the Telepe. Kesejia de tendegi kachak ten sawani le real mare teme pagi palin jun sun sha jo dinji chogor de la kwaji ya fu ma chena teba chimbi jun de palcher kwaji de telke kha yo ne tinju gala jiza dinji chogor de ngone kabaji dije bana jiza de dinji chogor de dinji chogor ge tane 남잔 쪽이 균대기다 군요 쪽이 균대기라 과야고 지자베나 락베 텐델라 과시 차게 디 차와이나 우메중이 셰샤베 텐델 미가 따여선 게 텐델라 과야고지 런투그로와 때마다 가보시 우리 어다 텐디 니가라 나한테 예 배기 쉐디 박이 가서 그래 좀된 대기 다 최근에 루이다 마송 용수 저버지 차디요. 대면 중대 같은 냠내 지겨와래. 대면이 중이 시에샤베. 배나 즉 소다기 대단 된지 초콜라서 받디죠. 막제 대면 다 빨리 깨려 숨르지도 숨도와. 찾아 빨리 깨 돌아 숨어래. 딩아서 답에 이작 냠내 제지 차디요. 대가라네 배 대바침에 샘게때서 땜비 중 세징이 도트 있으면 다 제도 잡은 둘자 왕본 넘보 세지 때는 왕는 마다 나요 말와 많은 거 용다 차요 말 되게 순대야 빨리 막혀만 말해 빨리 되고 순사래 산스크리트 민남주 쟁기 뒤뒤배주 당하기 깨치차요 그래서 순도와 뒤뒤가 이 숭야대 산스크리트라 숭 체두자wen 둘자된 둘자 왕본 넘보 배집 도스 텐디질로 숭래 딘디 인디가라 땅가서 한바치네 배 리부 야쳐와다 저바 야쳐위 중 야쳐와 왕본 너비 중징 아주 냠는 지기 연나 수수 깔레마잖아 디 냠는 지도 가고 쉬우래 어디 딘디가라 오기 바기 리지 초고 때서 과시 차주 아니 가서 툭툭지 디지 아니 띠가라 대바침비 쌤케기 대바침이 중되게디 냠는 제알라 노스제바이나 고 좀데 자와이나나 오마 오메타와 코메틱 저송 나진지네 오마기 중의 셰샤비 중이 타와 락파트 지시바이나 코메타와 셰야라 펜토 연구라 견자 오마되기 견자 고만 자야라 펜토 고라 때나진데 중 렌지 쪽으로 땅보 순에다 하게 라파르지대 데니마 타루 된 나기 초코르데 뜻은 타루 침바래 데 인두가라 투사데 셈라 투게나 나기 초코니 셈 타라게 나미도 나기 초코르마노 에 시링인 되나 송미도 시징이 되더스나 와다 시징이 되다니 원박공 공화되잖아 심중업증하지다 심중주지시로 된데기 개발치는 거가 송미도 와다 든디 인두가라 투성 원마다 랑게 셈라 투고 와래 셈 타라 제네니 베셈 타모디 상게 생의 니루 또마 또나 니 사게 데마토나 셈진스 투신게 자거서 숨도 아껴 거는 거죠. 오다 뛰니 니가라 맞죠? 즉 가지 가서 그렇다. 가서 툭툭지 미율 깨쳐서 진짜니 갈릭 잡아도 개첨부 툭자거래 있어.
So the text that we are studying, as you know, belongs to the teachings of Mahayana or Greater Vehicle, and here it is important to know that when we say use this word greater or higher, it doesn't mean to reflect a sort of inferiority of lesser vehicle or Theravadan system. The differences comes from the result or the intention of the practitioners, and of course it's not definitely looking down upon or there's no sense of superiority here. In fact, the Theravadan system or the lesser vehicle serve as the very foundation of higher vehicles practices and teachings. And Theravadan system, which are taught mainly in a language of ancient Indian language of Pali, we find the teachings of Four Noble Truths, so on and so forth. And within the Four Noble Truths, as you know, there are two sets of cause and effects. Cause and effect in related to liberation, cause and effect in related to how afflicted emotions make us to suffer in the cyclic existence, and once you understand this very foundational knowledge about cause and effect or Four Noble Truths in the Theravadan system, it will help individual to gain what we call gross understanding of dependent arising concepts, which later becomes much more subtle, much more difficult, and will help to understand, among the dependent arising, the subtle, profound concepts such as, dependent arising of, labeling or designation, merely labeling or designation. So that is the dependent arising concept that we find in the high school middle way philosophy. So to reach that kind of level of understanding, it is important to have a strong foundation. And the teachings that we are doing, as you know, based on Tibetan Buddhist tradition in Tibetan language, and this tradition is considered as like a complete form. It includes the practice of the Theravadan system or lesser vehicles, such as Four Noble Truths that we mentioned before, and also practice such as individual liberation vows. And then on top of that, we also find in Tibetan Buddhist tradition the practice of higher vehicles trainings, such as altruism or bodhicitta practice, and practice of the sutra of the practice of six perfections. And this, the altruistic or bodhicitta or awakening mind, and the practice of six perfections. These are teachings primarily focused for practitioners with a high intelligence. So when we look back into the history or evolutions of Buddhist teachings, we won't find higher vehicles teachings so kind of common as we see with the lesser vehicles teaching. And higher vehicles teachings were actually taught in the language primarily used by the great scholars, Sanskrit language, not the Pali language, language of learned scholars or intelligence. And so when we try to learn and study this kind of textbook, of course we are not trying to do study out of maybe arrogance that this is profound, therefore we want to study, but rather intention of making some effort, without any making effort, gaining understanding and therefore benefits is not going to happen. So the tradition that we are studying, as mentioned before, includes both the Theravadan system as well as Mahayana's system. And so then how should we kind of look at these two is, as we find in the root texts of tenets, Buddhist tenets or philosophy, the root text says that one should be using lesser vehicles as a stepping sort of stone for higher vehicles. So we need to kind of use the stepping stones or steps to reach the higher level of understanding. And so in terms of difficulties, when we start with the lesser vehicles teachings or practice, we see more kind of grosser level, easier to understand. Then as we go up into Mahayana's vehicle, it becomes more subtler, and when we reach the highest level of Vajrayana practice and teachings, it becomes sort of more subtlest. And in the Vajrayana teachings only we find the different types of classifications, understanding of the subtle natures of consciousness. And we won't find that teachings in the, for example, Mahayana's teachings, like teachings on six perfections. Rather, we find, for example, as we stated before, 49 or 51 different classifications of mental factors, but not really kind of subtle. And so one way we can conclude here that so ultimately it all comes down to the understanding of nature of the mind itself. And so we mentioned before, one way of differentiating sentient beings from enlightened being is sentient beings are those living beings who actually haven't realized the nature of the mind. But on the other hand, enlightened beings are those who have totally understood the nature of the mind, and that's a one way of categorizing, as we hear from His Holiness teachings. So so here what we are trying to do is we are in a way kind of aiming really aiming at high kind of objective, try to attain a very high objective, and likewise sort of effort is needed.
장주기 샘등 원진 발라 랑진진 땅게 조금 쪼데 랑진진지 랑진진 견데 그사는 망보 유사로 와 빼지는 망보도 와 되게 양결을 즉 살지 많이 받잖니 이양니 양도 삼을 당과도 쉬우지 개천버리 대마도 랑진진은 아주 컨디션 그 전어도 망보 대차인자 때라 선다 녀요 이거 카가요 이안에 양도 그 견지 따와 있나 니문지 그 견데 통구로 와 도나다 딜레 견지 도나 견돈치나 시바민지데 양교 견지 살지 견nem보지 통이나 디 주구 말와 디펜도지도 와 만주나 란친진 왕기 란친진 다란질리 디 왕기 중의 뇽문디 디기 말와 디 마기나 뇽문 왕기 동할때 디니 까르고도 와 어다도 쓰니 즉 미친초 란친진다 잔진디 견 따야 돼 쉬우지 개침버리 견면에 다시 올라고 말어 견유니 견디 애니페 뭐다 쳐고래 원진 투고래 주고 와라 어다 띵두가라 디케산 주시타래 다 진진진 견된 다 장주기 셈 율레 껴와라 진진진 니지 전부 게네 니지 전부 때자 많이 니지 전부 때 간디질레스 거래 아삼 드닝기 진도 코르드케베 니지 띠게나 때라 니지 전부 쓰 거래 이 장주기 셈기 요마데 때 차고 거래 디요라 진진진 아니베 라로마자 용해요 말 띵디가라 띵 진진진기 연된 삼바 시야데 어다 띵 띵슈야데
So achieving a peace of mind is the responsibility that each individual has. So therefore, since this is individual's responsibility, you need to attend through your own effort. And in teachings, Buddha's teachings, the teachings of the Lamrim Lamas lineages, we find that the main obstacles, hindrance that we find, in finding a happiness of the mind is as we mentioned in the earlier parts of the teachings, this self-cherishing thought or ego mind. And we need to kind of, think over again and again to realize the negative influence of this, self-cherishing thought or ego mind. Because it's not really easy. It doesn't come easily through kind of some intellectual knowledge. The reason, is because we have been, staying very, very closely with this kind of self-cherishing thought for many, many, long time. And in fact, our relationship with the ego mind or self-cherishing thought becomes so close that we are like a slave to self-cherishing thought or ego mind. So the reason why we are trying to find fallacies or the faults of the self-cherishing thought is, in the text we find expressions such as once you, in the valid cognition text, once you see the fallacies, then you want to do the same thing again. So therefore it is important to understand the negative, the impacts. And once you see the the fallacies or the faults of this self-cherishing thought, then you won't surrender yourself to negative or afflicted minds. Once there is no afflicted thoughts, there is no afflicted actions, which are actually which end up in not bringing any suffering. So so what we are saying here is that we need to investigate the negative impacts of self-cherishing thought. The reason why we are saying is because self-cherishing thought has a negative influence. It is something negative. It brings us, problems and troubles. So we are something, that is reality. We are not saying something, out of, nothing. So up to here, we finish in the text, and now the next section, the text deals with the opposite side of self-cherishing thought, which is other-cherishing thought. And in order to promote, develop, practice other-cherishing thought, the text kind of tells us, what are the positive impacts, the advantages of practicing, other-cherishing thought. And because it's so-called a great compassionate mind, the sacred, precious, is the root of which is the root of altruistic mind. That a self-cherishing, that the great compassionate mind actually comes from other cherishing thought. So therefore it is important to sort of encourage ourselves to study and practice. We need to know about the benefits of other cherishing thoughts and contemplate. And so for that a reason, we go on to this the second section of the part.
수 너치 책임지라 자세지 자료 아니 펜에 가야 민데 긴지라 파르마시니 이 다른보다는 소소한 대화 매개나 용수들 소수님 니콜레이나 라나다치 가르소라 그뭐보다 가르지 토니나 대화 때문에 맨데 텐데라베 펜에 만데도 뇌나라 니린 맨데게 그 파르마치치 찍용도 그래서 강가는 지금 가진 첨벌스 공부를 해서 혹대 갔다나 땅원이 달아 대비 가진 진 공부 세수가 셈은 맞추지 된대 용도와 따지 풍야는 뭐 삼다야 교황아마이나 땅낭 아주 남바 인사 교황아마 캐는 거 단데 펜에 춘중이 돈 다차 버마도 그 랑은 주변 다시 다땐 싸우니는 해요 말과 제들란 자차나 제면이 녀차야 도와 쪼차야 도와 이게 대 삼단 거야 대마체비 깨왕아시 윤에 단다 그 유진 춘주스터네 자차바네 이 체가서 랑갈렘 바 체가를 파전렘 말 랑면나 파전이 너가 계속 시작하는 데서 와 이가나 소송원에 파전라 지 내게기 긴 텐덴지 맞이네 요야프라 그 미치기 라벤이가 탈모다베 마다 라벤치기 탈모다 시야코나요 말과 어떤 대소리지 삼다네 누스가 있나 자라 네페 잠재 홈 무야지다 대마체베 자 뭐니 마음도 개바체 뭐야 장주기 쌤나 냠는제나 이 장주기 쌤이 이렇게 줘야라 매도 내려와 퍼진 줄라 냠는 맞제나 요나 파나요 퍼진 줄나니 저빠데 냠는 제거지고 저빠데 냠는 제나 제거나 저필로빈은 자면나 저필로빈 라는도 도신 삼다나 뭐니 파말리 같은 체에서 이제 통투야 봐. 잘라테네 소바 콤발테네 애니페 수스셈에 yar게 두고 수스셈에 지더라고 와. 때문에 와. 미치 소소를 넣지 쟁인지라 셈 투고 메나 다 펜타운지라 셈 투야 거라요. 말 발마나 셈 투야 거라요. 말 빼야고도 와. 어느 독수 산다는 야. 제사 굴라 거진 채워 봄 시야데 즉 두스진 삼다나 땅 초야래 주고 왔어. 원이 탱탱이 온 거다.
So, if you have this, same textbook, it's on page 52, the beginning of the page. What is to be put into practice through contemplating the advantages of concern for others, or you can say, other cherishing thought. And then there's a quote here, says, meditate on the great kindness of all beings. All beings here, when we understand in terms of relationship, we categorize, as we categorize into three. The first one is so-called somebody close to us, or maybe relatives, and this relationship comes from those individuals who are close to you, who are kind of helping you, nice to you. And then second category is so-called kind of people that we dislike, or more kind of like an enemy. Maybe because of physical, verbal, mental, they harmed us, and so you don't want to do anything with those people, dislike people or hate, the enemy. And then third category would be what we call the neutral, or people who has nothing to do with you in terms of benefiting or harming. So from your side, in your mind, they are just neutral. You don't have a feeling of closeness, neither you have a feeling of hatred or disliking. And so these are three kind of relationship that when we are in the cyclic existence, we somehow kind of build up relationship, any of these. And so when we look at this quote, meditate on the great kindness of all beings, at the very first moment it is very difficult to understand this. How can you meditate to those people who hate you, to it's so against kind of mundane way of thinking. But then we have to kind of think more deeper and understand, uh, you know, um, this one sentence seems to be beyond our kind of reach, thinking. But we need to kind of to think more deeper, especially as a Buddhist practitioners. In Buddhism, we talk about not just this one lifetime, but we talk about many rebirths. And when we talk about rebirth system, we understand more about the nature of other sentient beings and how they are involved in your life in some other time. And another way of understanding is there is no individual who is your enemy from the very beginningless of time. The enemies happen because of some factors and conditions in which, if you examine closely, you are actually responsible for it. You need to see how responsible yourself are in creating people that you don't like or hate you or your enemy. And so on the other hand, because of some small factors and conditions, our relationship easily changes. We see somebody who is that your closest friend, but at the end of the day, something happened, and you consider that individual as your kind of most disliked individual, and the opposite way. So the relationship that we have with the other individuals in our society is so kind of fluctuating by nature. It doesn't remain same all the time. And you also, as mentioned before, you need to see your own kind of involvement. If you doesn't involve at all, existed at all, there's no that kind of relationship won't happen at all. So yourself being just exist in that kind of relationship, somehow to some extent, you are responsible for part of it, and we need to kind of accept that kind of reality. And just like when making a sound by clapping hand, two hands are needed. Simply one hand won't able to have the sound. And especially when thinking from the understanding of greater vehicles practitioners, like from the understanding of bodhicitta, altruistic mind or awakening mind, we talk about doing the practice of six perfections, and six perfection is must inevitable practice for bodhisattvas, and one of them, as you know, is practice of patience. And the best practice of patience that you can actually have is when there are people that hates you, and that dislike you. So those are the best teachers in the practice of your patience. And so in fact, those are the individuals, the same people that you hate are the individuals that are really kind of shaping you, making you a better person. You practice patience to them, and then you become a better person. So they become factors and conditions that make you a better person. And so these are some ways of thinking, to help yourself, get more kind of positive, perspective of, people we call, the enemy, or that people we so kind of hate.
다 니도 수수수수 두고도 두고도 팀게지 주나고 양지 유전지로 와 니도 믿어 팀게지요 말 조금 미코래다 수수배 너진 치다 라운드 치다 되지는 다 조금 크고 나와 이 종강에 두고지도 와 원이잖아 종강은 저는 그 견춘춘진이 종강 침발고 조금 당연히 라그도 와 가시라 어떻게 니가 그래서 중간에 나랑 생기 끼었는데 뭐다 취해네 아주 툭툭지 아 진진라 하기 문좀치 툭이야 툭 뭐야 돼 깨치셔도 돼 순간 다때 당고 아 진진이 좀 뉴몬도 문좀치 뉴몬도 문좀치네 뉴몬 강에 줘에 아 진진라 문좀치 툭이야지 근데 지중이나 생기 지대 생기 아티니 잡아내 지금 그래 이제 숨도 하는 중 나만 되겠습니다. 경고를 무시다. 하나씩 그때는 됐습니다. 어떻게 인도가라 그사 제가 순배다리 이상이나 닐리 경고를 무시 가지고 나도 아니면서 그래서 엔지 돌고 와. 저는 저 땅이 났다. 니스가 경고를 무시다. 가져야지. 나베 에네베 직하게 가서 순배 나도 신 지dengi 남배 따따다디 경고름시 니지 나요. 단 저가 통글이 썼고 남배 중 셰샤베. 아니 사이스인지 띵 저가 통해 얘기했어. 어디 띵 저가 통해서나 띵라 코스틱 경고름시 양양 가는 거 와. 어디 띵이. 아니 스타트디 기네요. 어디 남배 추이 냐면 제단 지룬디 따띠네요. 나는 제나 소소도 그래 맞나 소소도 그래 생기지데 시야잖아 너무 뜬도 따야시는다 아니베 디디디 소소 우구라 우구에서 나는 최근 미능이라 영어로 무슨 따뜻해 가서 지 꿀리 잡아 최켈로 말레노 꿀리 잡아지 잠시까지 영어로 무슨 가는 게 좋아 내가 싶어. 내가 그네 경고를 준거야 말. 어떻게 이거라? 나랑 좀 시단이 니지라 니긴 두시라 하시. 제니. 아니 지. 시동지. 딱 야투게 있나? 아니 오늘 보고 그래야 한데 나 수선아 뱅그래. 네 수선아 디기지라고 와. 네 수선아 선나 야고 와. 수수 제야 돼. 란진진기 제용고 그런데 아니 조금 먹을 수수도 내가 수수도 점점 내 손 나지는 랑긴 다들 랑을 있어야 돼 너무 차고 와 어떻게 지 랑긴 건께봐 랑 레디어래 랑긴 자양 랑 레디어 랑긴 미치고는 사지 제네 저방 한바 시지 제네 니 너무 영 저기 따라 있나 수수 생디라 좀에 kelkam도 내야 찍고 최치마 이원기 나니 지구 동al 먹고 있는 거야 니부 니네 차도 첸디네 치마네 다 젠던지지 가져 수수 툭툭지네 펜다 펜마다는 내게 맞게지 툭스잖아 첸디라 조금만 개와치마라 대원기 애니베 지구 동al 지구 대와데 배 가서 왔다 때 화성기 신나니 지금 매매도 게 나신지네. 뭐다? 대리용에 열서 소도. 뭐다 되게 뭐네. 인데 전 뭐라 자주 생기 파연디 준주는 이유당보다 빠지지는 같은 소. 뭐다 되게 지 자로나도 나야고.
So the more kind of open-minded we are, the broader that we can see, or the perspective we have, and the more happier we will enjoy. On the other side, the more kind of narrow-minded you are, with unlimited ways of seeing others, the stronger it will lead to self-cherishing thought, ego mind, and always kind of seeing the importance of your own, self, and always kind of my. And when you have that kind of strong self-grasping or self-cherishing toward ego mind, of course, the follow-up result will be you will have a less friend, less people that you trust, and psychologically comes from that loneliness. That kind of loneliness comes more mental, problems, and so here, what is important is, as His Holiness kind of advised us, respecting other human being as just another human being, without any kind of negative, projections or judgments, and with very kind of honest mind. And especially in Mahayana practice, in practice of other cherishing thoughts benefiting others, it emphasizes on kind of being honest, being truthful, gaining a trust from others, and otherwise, if you do the opposite, always kind of self-importance and self-cherishing thought or ego mind, as we mentioned in earlier teachings, it is like you are creating your own wall of your own prison, and going to prison with some criminal, record might be okay because you have a excuse, and for that reason you might have your family or relatives coming to meet you in the prison. They can come to prison and meet you and console you. But if you really kind of put yourself in your own prison through your negative thoughts, then there's no people who will come to you and kind of support you in your most needed time. It's kind of volunteering yourself, embracing kind of prison. So so what is important here is just kind of the bottom line is understand, identify the negative the aspects of thoughts or way of thinking, and then try to staying away from those, and understanding the afflicted emotions, and staying away from those, and trying our best to maintain the happiness of the peace of the mind, and so recently His Holiness gave a teachings in New Delhi. Of course it's available online if you listen, and other great teachings by the lineages of Lamrim masters, and probably the book that His Holiness was talking might be coming up soon. The book which kind of talks about 3 different sections. The Buddhist science, Buddhist philosophy, and Buddhist practice, and in that book, Buddhist science is something that is common to all people, whether you believe in kind of religion or not. It's more kind of secular approach. As long as you want to find or seek happiness with the mind, these are the practice that you can adopt, and for that reason, His Holiness considered this kind of secular approach as something very critical, something that can be practiced or gain profit by all people, all common people, and so as mentioned before, so if you sort of neglect yourself psychologically, emotionally, and then make yourself under the power of afflicted emotions or negative emotions or ignorance, then, as mentioned before, the result will be you alone will suffer from like loneliness, or not only in this lifetime, but if you believe in life after death, future, there will be more suffering. But on the other hand, if you generate other cherishing thought and practice it, of course that will gain trust to believe, have more friendships, much happier life, then definitely have a better rebirth if you believe in life rebirth cycle. So the benefits of the other cherishing thought, or benefits of the altruistic mind, if you have interest, you can look at the more details in Shantideva's book, Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. The entire first chapter is about the advantages of bodhicittas or altruistic mind.
제외 풍만나 민 잠바 아 잠바서 저와니 미남데 숨고와 잠바 동아 메주 풍와다부 제외 semjena 민 저와니지 서와다 게 대화던 된데 대외 풍대가는데 대화던 된데 동아기 지르와 동아기 단데 이거는 답에 이거 선생님과 집에 있잖아요. 뭐다 이원리 미남 잠바서 잡아게 미남기 잡아게 두스웅과 바디 우먼주베나 저와 니지생 토다 벌숨도 깨진 깨쳐버리 이제 두스웅과 가르잖아 나랑 좀 단다 수식이요 지 문에 레데 녀몽부 이상원도 연딩이 수식이에 갖고 나야 저와 니시잖아 셈다 지 가서래 방법 깨쳐와 출 사분다 무슬라 버도 깨쳐와 출다고 타마 깨쳐와 리부 민바다고 세대 두스고가 다 사분다고 인다네 단다고 아주 묘무의 치와인데 완전히 공부인데 이 같더라 저와 쉽게 있나 셈네 시대게 좋아 이 사분나 있잖아 이 원기 자주기 셈 거네 애니베 가진도 내냐면 제도 재미상이 살아야 돼 다다 사분다고 쳐도와 바로 자주기 셈 계산에 지 오늘 진두가 냐면 제 가드나 다동 잔지 이야기다 잔지 공부도 그거 하면 돼야 연사 공부다네 요스치가 출리다고 쳐봐 나도 사분지 사때 유잖아 그 지금 맞아 유잖아 그 미국 민니니서 지금제나 주리자 지킨 쪽에 추다서 따다다 루다다 따바이나 고야 뭐 공부도 좋아 어쨌든 출리나 돼 다른 미국 민바도 써야 돼 오늘 상계는 초코 볼 연기가나 니린 내가 버려 끝이 내가 버려 이 제가 니집이 제일 잘해 이거지 즉 신변 지야 돼 제가 니집 지야 돼 애니베 계속 쉬우지다 보네 셈 디수지 토에나 셈나 좋아하게 해지도 보네 레기도 와 어다 두스제니 뭔가 싶어
춘주롱 들어요 말아.
로미다다 어때 로션 준주레스 장삼된라 초박금 대양 선진 지와니 예소송
So we'll continue with the reading text, page 52. What is to be put into practice through contemplating the advantages of concern for others? Meditate on the great kindness of all beings. Chandrakriti states in his supplement to Nagarjuna's treatise on the middle way, the name of the text, that in general, for a person to belong to the lineage of the great vehicle, love and compassion are vitally important at the beginning, middle, end of his or her practice. Both are developed in dependence on sentient beings. Love by focusing on the fact that sentient beings are bereft of happiness, and sympathetic great compassion by focusing on the fact that sentient beings are afflicted by suffering, like a raging bonfire. So here we see, the differences between, compassion and love in Buddhist context. Object of the observation of the target, both are same for the love and compassion, other sentient beings are suffering. And then the difference is one looks at and then a desire or wishes to be with the happiness, and the another wishes and desire to be separate from the suffering. So that's the two, the differences between love and compassion. And now here, what we see is the really kind of the importance of compassion, love and compassion. And the quoting from Chandrakriti's text, treatise on the middle way. In that text, Chandrakriti kind of appreciate compassion, love and compassion, in his kind of homage section, saying that love and compassion, the importance is, it is important for the practitioners at the beginning of the practice or stage, in the middle, and at the end, when one attains the result, that is enlightenment. So compassions are equally important in the beginning, in the middle, at the end of the stage of the practices. And he used the example of just like the at the beginning when you are planting something, seed is important. In the middle, what is important is it's important, the water and moisture and sunlight. These are also important. And at the end, what you are trying to attain is the fruit. The fruit is important. So just like that, the compassion is important at the beginning. So at the beginning, especially for us, when we begin our practice of love and compassion, for ordinary people who are so full of this self-cherishing thought, ego mind, when we kind of practice love and compassion, we know how much we get relieved, happiness and joy and pleasure. And it is important, just like the seed in the beginning. And then in the middle of the practice, compassion is still important, still related. In the example, we use, if you plant the seed and then if you just kind of neglect it, of course it won't grow, but it needs a continuous kind of, caring. You need to pour water, bring in the sunlight, whatever is needed, fertilizer. And then at the end, when you attain the result, compassion is equally important. In fact, once you attain, say, the result of enlightenment, ability such as having a unbiased mentality, impartiality, and give teaching continuously without getting tired. These are all the result of love and compassion's mind. So, so if you think about the benefits or the advantages of compassion and contemplate and some idea, then it will definitely make us encourages us to adopt. And I'll read the next 2 sentences and then we'll have a break. The Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life says by Shantideva, that we make offerings to whoever has a mind of love also reflects the value of sentient beings. So this is another quote from Shantideva's text, the importance or the benefits of love and compassion. We'll take a 15 minutes break.